What is up, everyone? Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This is the Star Stuff Podcast, Skeleton Crew, Episode 4 post show. My name is David, and it looks like I'm going solo tonight. But before we talk about all the Episode 4 goodness, can't say I remember no at-atin, which is a phrase we've heard before. Just want to go over all of our awesome Patreon members out there, starting with Darth Ace 1, Liam McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Deb McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Maka Tautala, Adam Haber, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, Darth Beard, and Indiana Solo. Thank you so much for being awesome Patreon supporters. And also LegionSabers.com. If you're looking for a new lightsaber, check out LegionSabers.com. Use the code STUFF at checkout for 15% off. And if you spend over $300, you get a free lightsaber. So with all that out of the way there, I know there's a lot of people in chat right now looking at us. So TJ on YouTube is back in the house. TJ asked the question, was the episode any good? You might have to watch the episode for yourself there, TJ. Adam Abers says, haven't watched, just saying hello. Okay, gotta go. Spicy Flygon from YouTube is here. What is up? What is up, Spicy? So this episode, I really didn't think it was going to go the way it kind of did. I think in the pre-show, if you watched us or listened to us, we thought we were going to get something really weird. We thought we were going to get that big crustacean character. Spoilers, by the way, for episode 4. We didn't get any of that. So the picture on Disney Plus shows a young actress, and I was like, okay, well, we're getting another young actor in there. Okay, they're maybe going to encounter someone on another planet. So yeah, the episode starts off with them dropping out of hyperspace in the satellite area of this new planet. And immediately I knew it was not at-atin. There's no way. Legacy of Nerd on YouTube says, yo, haven't seen an episode yet. Worth the watch. It's directed by the Daniels. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of kind of exposition and moving the plot along. There was nothing that visually impressive with this episode. There really wasn't any aspects of war. There's a lot of talk of war, but not a whole lot of action this episode. So I'm not sure if you would think it's worth a watch. But, I mean, it's moving the plot along. We got a lot of information. Spicy Flagon on YouTube says, I was totally expecting the planet was at-atin in some alternate time. That's what I thought, too. As soon as they dropped out and were sucked in, I immediately thought, okay, maybe there was some type of time travel happening. And, of course, in Star Wars, there's not a lot of that going around. And I think Filoni has addressed that the whole time travel aspect is not something they're really going to pursue in Star Wars, even though we got the World Between Worlds stuff. But I immediately started thinking, oh my gosh, that's the big twist in the show. It's time travel. But no, it wasn't time travel, as far as we know. TJ on YouTube says, I'm enjoying it. TJ says, was it interesting, though? I don't think we got super interesting stuff, but of course, they did add to SM33's past. We found out information about the other planets that were on Kim's scroll that she rolled out in the last episode. Sound very, very similar. Legacy Nerd says, Lots of Lab meant this series. Haven't seen any episodes. Yeah, it's. I think it's worth a watch. Yeah, up to episode 4 here. It's fast. It's intense. We talked about it in the pre-show. It moves along. And we also talked about the fact that I don't think we came into this episode or this series without expectations like we did for previous episodes. So it's all kind of brand new and no real established characters. But it is very, very much pirate themed. But going back to the episode, yeah, we got some information, and being directed by the Daniels, like I said, we thought we were going to get some grand kind of trippy, weird creatures. But of course, this was shot before Everything Everywhere All at Once. So the Daniels really weren't the Daniels at this moment in time. They were just spotted by John Watts as being some directors with some talent. And of course, they were brought on. This was shot like 2-3 years ago or whatever. But it was a very straightforward episode. I really thought the adult that they encountered, I thought that was for a split second there. I thought it was Spike Jonze, maybe with like a prosthetic nose or something. And of course, Spike Jonze is another kind of super acclaimed director in his own right. He's an actor as well. He's done various different things. And I think he's a guy that would be a Star Wars guy as well. Meeting another kid, meeting a couple kids out there, landing on that new planet at Akin, which you find out later, all the planets are named very, very similarly. Seeing Eopes, I watched the episode with captions on, and you could clearly see Eope roaring or whatever it said. And these Eopes were a little different from what we're used to in live action. They actually had horns. I'm not sure if that's much of the animated stuff. Colin said he was going to jump on. I was going to ask him that question. But yeah, it was very interesting to see kind of two warring factions. But we didn't get a lot of action between the two. Seeing the two kind of clans kind of come together. I mean, the episode really wasn't. I'm trying to think back here, and of course, everyone in the comments there, let us know what you thought of tonight's episode, specifically episode 4. Tim Duggar on Twitter or X says it's so good. Spicy Flagon on YouTube says this episode definitely feels out of place, not necessarily bad, but felt like a curveball. The show went through reshoots and rework, so this episode feels like a late addition. I don't know what sequence they shot these episodes in. This could have been a really late addition, but then again, it was clearly stated that the Daniels, who directed tonight's episode, directed this episode before their Academy Award winning film came out. So it was a curveball. I didn't think we would get this type of episode. But of course, we got more added to the actual story of the supervisor tower holding, I guess, those pillars with coordinates of every single planet, which is kind of strange to me. But yeah, we saw the kids in the supervisor tower. I don't think we were ever privy to that information that there was a supervisor tower. I think that's the first time we learn of that. Seeing that spire, I mean, I thought there was going to be maybe some hint of who or what the supervisor is / was. But yeah, in no way I thought they were actually going to arrive at that. And of course, it's way too early in the story. A lot of Ithorians. That really jumped out to me. Colin also pointed that out. I guess John Watts and Christopher Ford really love the hammerhead species, because we did get quite a few of them. Seemed like they reuse some helmets from older films, unless they created more helmets that we've seen, like in Solo and Return of the Jedi, and they just got repurposed. Yeah, just a very straightforward episode. And the actor that plays Neil, he talked about one of these episodes being very Neil-centric. I'm guessing it was this episode, because the next episode is Bryce Dallas Howard's episode. And I don't think that we would go back to a Neil-centric episode for episode 5. I think something big is going to happen next episode, which will be Christmas Eve. And we probably won't be doing the normal pre-show the way that we've been doing it right before the episode, because of course it's Christmas Eve. We'll be with family, but we'll probably do a pre-show that weekend. So maybe Sunday. But yeah, keep on typing your comments. I'm kind of interested to see what everyone thinks. Spicy Flagon on YouTube says this episode definitely feels out of place. Not necessarily bad, but felt like a curveball. I think I read that already. One guy was wearing the Imperial Infantry helmet. Yes, I did notice a few very familiar helmets. Those are pretty much the only kind of Easter eggs I caught right off the bat. The structures outside of the planet look almost like, I believe, I can't remember exactly what the name was for the High Republic, that structure, but it looked like they were tilted sideways and almost like satellite dishes in a way. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with the barrier, or maybe that was a precursor to the barrier on At-Aten, and maybe, I mean, they were scaled down over time because, of course, At-Aten was kind of went into kind of a third world planet, so to speak. So, yeah, the Ithorians, the helmets. There was a little bit of Arabesh on some of those pillars, and I'm pretty sure people out there are gonna decipher some of that stuff. No cameos. I stayed till the very end and looked at the credits, and I saw from order of appearance, no names that were recognizable. But yeah, this episode was a lot less. It was kind of weird because this episode was a lot less adult, but it was also adult simultaneously. Because I mean, they dealt with the whole concept of war, and it really reminded me, kind of like I said previously, like it's a third world planet, third world country. We've all heard of that before, and of course, it kind of touched on the topic of kids at war, which is horrific and very depressing, but it is a thing that happens on our planet. And when they landed on a playground essentially, and you saw the merry-go-round, you saw a slide, and I'm like, oh my gosh, did they just land on like maybe Earth? I don't know. That topic, we've talked about that a lot. We never think that Earth is going to be put in as a planet ever into Star Wars, even though it does say a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. To me, that iconic intro tells us Earth is possible, and Earth is the Milky Way is in the Star Wars universe. And of course, we heard Kim last episode talk about thousands of worlds, and then she said, oh no, they're actually more than that. So yeah, I was waiting for Colin to jump on. I don't think he is. Countdown City Geek says, yo, how's it going? Feel free to jump on, Ted, if you saw the episode. I actually think Ted was at the movie theater watching the new Sonic movie. And of course, we all thought Hayden Christensen was going to play Shadow at one point. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, what your thoughts were on this episode. So yeah, I'm really interested to see. Usually for me, when I watch something like this, I'm not really decided. I got to watch it at least another time to give my final judgment. I think I've said this on the podcast a few times, but it doesn't really feel like an episode I'm going to probably rewatch per se. And of course, for the podcast, I'll rewatch it. But if I didn't have a podcast, it probably wouldn't be an episode that I would rewatch. But like I said, a lot of Neil stuff, a lot of concentration on Neil. So, Ted, how's it going, sir? Did you watch the episode?
Neil's the real deal. That guy is a G. Neil's the greatest. He's gonna take over the entire franchise pretty soon.
Yeah. Man, it was so sad when he was just like, why don't you just have peace? Why don't you just like stop it? When do you think the rating will ever end? And the girl was like contemplating that whole thing. And she's like, yeah, it'll end. But Yeah, I mean, Neil was totally the voice of reason there. But I just couldn't like stop with the gears turning in my head. What is this planet? Where are we really? I didn't really have a stable foundation of what the environment actually was, because it almost felt like at the very end when the kids were approaching the smoke, the fog, that they were going to say, "Oh, we're just kidding," or something like that.
Mm.
There was like a level of seriousness that they didn't have in this episode. That it just felt like something was off. Did you get that same kind of feeling?
Well, for a second, I was like, "Oh, it's at Atten," but because they were talking about it's 100 years later,
Bizarro
I'm
at
like,
Atten.
"Say it again." Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I was just like, "Oh, they've gone through some sort of time portal and they've returned a century later." They were all
Right.
discussing this. I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting stuff." Um, yeah, this one feels like kind of a stepping stone. I don't know if we're gonna see the Troik or these clans again later on in this show. Um, so it just kind of feels like we needed to fill some space here, and maybe somehow these kids will. I don't know if they're gonna try and cure this conflict. That seems a little bit too far fetched. So I'm trying to figure out why we're meeting these groups here, these factions that are at war. But either way, just want to find out more lore about the old republic, and I don't think we get a ton of information in here. And I haven't played the Code War games, for what, 20 years when they came out, I think. So I'm not remembering if like we're supposed to understand maybe this weapon means something, maybe these groups were mentioned before. Like none of those things are sort of popping up in my recollection. Anything pop out for you?
No, not at all. No old Republic related anything really. I played KOTOR, but it was so long ago that I'm probably not going to remember much of any references that are happening.
Yeah. But it really sort of just feels like a stepping stone into the second half of the season. I don't think we gain a whole lot as an audience from this one. We get to see Neil. We learn a little bit more about Smee, and now he's definitely going to be the key to getting back home. Um, is this captain still alive? I'm trying to figure out. This captain actually might be somebody we already know, and that could be a major plot twist. Smee's captain could be one of the parents. Smee's captain could be like Wendell. I doubt it, but Smee's captain could be whoever this leader is on at Atten. He could be the one that
It could be Judd
no.
Nanawood. I mean, think about it. Maybe he's playing everyone. Maybe he got there and then, for whatever reason, whatever circumstance, got him off the planet. And I mean, he's just kind of keeping it a secret that he knows certain things, that was his ship. He was the one that erased Smee's memory, maybe. I mean, and he's kind of just playing everyone, trying to get back there.
That was my initial take after the
Yeah.
premiere, that this could be Jod's ship or Captain Silvo's ship, but I haven't saw or found anything to kind of support that.
Yeah.
Wiping the droid's memory is one thing, but Jod also like
And he knew how to
maybe.
deactivate Smee pretty quickly there.
It's a very good point. Very, very good point. But what's
It,
the end?
see,
But
the
the
big
other
thing for
thing is
me,
that ship has been there for so long. Like Smee and that ship that crashed on at Atten, it's been there so long that the vegetation's already grown back over it.
yeah, that's a good point.
Layers of earth material have covered it. It's been there for such a long time that decades. What is Jod's if it was Jod's ship? What's his end game? Like, how long was he going to wait before he ran away from his crew? And because I don't think he's been captured that long. He might have been captured for months, maybe better part of a year, but it doesn't seem like he was in that brig or whatever they called it for decades. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. The
If it
pre-show we
is
talked.
his,
Say again.
if it is his ship and Smee is his old second mate or whatever they call it, I will be very surprised. It was my original idea after the premiere, but when we're learning about the timeline and everything else, it just feels like that's a real stretch. But maybe they can explain it somehow, some way.
See, I thought the reveal of the leader of the adult with all the kids, I thought that was going to be someone. I thought that was going to be someone we maybe knew, but it wasn't. Even the actor, I think, was not like a big name or anything. At first, I thought it was Spike Jones. You know Spike Jones, right?
Yeah.
Looks kind of like him, and I was like, "Whoa, maybe that's him." But no, I don't think it was.
I thought it was homeboy that lives here in San Antonio.
Oh, Jackie
Um,
Earl Haley.
it looked like Jackie when he was sort of in the
uh,
shadow, and I was like, "Is
yeah,
that Jackie?" But no,
I thought it was
alas, it
Spike
was not.
Jones. But yeah, the Daniels who directed everything all everywhere all at once directed this episode, and I
Yeah,
think this is their only episode. Very kind
very
of
strange.
understated for those guys.
Yes, very strange. Seems like I don't know, man. Yeah, nothing terribly exciting. You know, kind of a side quest, if you ask me. I guess is what it feels like.
Right. It just info. We got a lot of info. There's other planets that sound very much like At-Aten, and of course Kim showed us all those other planets. Um, and I believe Kim said that they were destroyed. Right. The only planet that was saved was At-Aten, pretty much.
You're correct.
And you think about it, it's like,
Were destroyed.
yeah, you think about it, and it's like, are all these like kids and adults just generations and generations just living there, like trying to raid each other constantly? I mean, is that what their society became ever since the old Republic days? I mean, that's pretty wild.
It's a long time. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
very
this
very long
happened
time.
generations ago, right? That all these planets were destroyed. So yeah, it's a never-ending civil war, never-ending war between these two.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah. So the next episode will be on Christmas Eve,
Hey,
and apparently it's a big episode. Apparently it's Bryce Dallas Howard's huge episode for this series. So I'm thinking we're gonna get either a big reveal slash twist that kind of shakes the foundation of maybe what we originally thought. Maybe it could be like a Jod reveal. Maybe it could be the supervisor kicking off the episode, and it's someone we know or a species we know. It's kind of interesting that this show has given us so many Ithorian hammerhead aliens in the season. That was one of my favorite aliens when I was a kid, the hammerhead. Um, but we didn't really get much of them afterwards. But now, of course, it's they. I mean, it seems like John Watts is really loving that species.
yeah, no, I would agree. I don't know what we get next episode. I feel like I need to start lowering my expectations. I, for the sake of my sanity and just to enjoy it for what it is, not going to, expect a ton. I mean, it probably won't really take off until like late in episode 6 or episode 7 when they'll have like a really nice cliffhanger after 7 and then big finale on 8. So might wait because like where do you go from here?
Well, I think the beauty of the show is you can go anywhere because we're not expecting anything. We don't see the next thing coming, so
they got to fix the droid. So,
well, not necessarily fix the droid, but access his memory. And I mean, do they go back to the moon where Kim is at to try and figure that out? But then they run the risk of the New Republic taking Jod into custody. I mean, yeah, it's kind of open. Like tonight's episode, we were like, well, what's gonna happen? I don't think we really have any set in stone expectations, which is part of the beauty of this show. We don't know what we're gonna get next. We have seen some things, and we talked about in the pre-show. There's this big crustacean crab-like creature that the kids encounter that's stop motion animated by Phil Tippett and his team. We haven't got that yet. There's also a picture that I have of Jod pointing to some old Sith writing on a cave.
You're right.
We haven't seen that yet. So I don't think this show is really following the same rules, the same marketing rules that other shows have followed, where they don't show anything past a certain episode. I think we've seen stuff in later episodes. But
yeah, those seems are 2 big ones for sure.
Yeah, it seems like the marketing is kind of odd for the show because they'll drop big like video featurettes, but then again, it feels like a lot of people aren't watching them. It feels like a lot of people don't realize there's a Star Wars show happening. So it's kind of odd.
They just dropped new stills from the episode.
Okay.
Trying to see if there's anything worth sharing.
Yeah, and the fact that Fern was able to play that mind trick on her droid, and it came back in this episode how she did it with SM-33. That was a callback. I don't think any of us really saw coming, but of course, it's writing 101, like you say. Just about everything like that's gonna be called back or used later on.
Yeah, I can share some stuff. They got some decent photos of some of these new characters that we were introduced to. So here's, I'm not sure what they called him.
Yeah, this is the guy I thought was Spike Jonze, but it's not. And you thought it was Jackie Earle Haley.
I thought it was well, when he was in the shadows and he had like a very raspy voice. I'm like, oh, that's got to be Jackie. Does their armor or anything kind of ring any bells? It's very original to me.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in Solo. Spicy Flagon said one of the guys is wearing an Imperial infantry helmet, and that's what we saw in Solo when Han Solo met Beckett for the first time. And also, the helmet resembles the ATST Walker pilot as well.
Mm.
It almost looks like Rey's staff there.
Right?
That's kind of interesting. But yeah, something felt a little like off or disjointed in this episode with these guys because I thought there was going to be a little bit more to them. But yeah, you can see that they're when they ask the question, what flag do you fly? If you scroll up a little bit to the right, it's the flag with the white dots there. 7 dots in that pattern. And you can see on the other soldier, he has that same pattern on his helmet there, yeah. And at first I thought it was going to be a planet just full of children.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just a bunch of children warring with each other. Almost like a Lord of the Flies situation.
So they call him General Strix, Strix, played by Matthew Kasovitz.
Yeah, I did see that name at the end. Spicy Flagon on YouTube says, since there is all this Imperial armor floating around, maybe the Empire were the ones who destroyed the other planets. Feels like there is some type of like Empire connection, authority on all this.
Does it?
Yeah, because you got to think about the timeline. We're in the time right after Return of the Jedi. Palpatine is dead, so we think Vader's gone. But other plans could have been put in motion, and then they could have been taken up by the First Order, which is what we're leading to. And of course, they have planet killers and the Death Star, which they did have, and then it blew up. Of course, from Return of the Jedi. Then
Yeah,
they
Death
created
Star,
Star
but
Killer Base,
Death Star
which
definitely felt like what's it called? An experimental weapon, though, right? First of its kind, really never been attempted on that scale before. And the rest of these planets from the Old Republic, they've been gone for a while. Is what it feels like.
yeah.
It doesn't feel Empire to me. If it definitely feels like, if you told me it's a really ancient Sith faction that survived and took over or something, that would kind of make a little bit more sense. But yeah, I think that's possible. I'm trying to look to see if there's any other photos worth sharing.
Yeah, and this episode was only about 30 minutes long as well. If you delete the intro and the credits, only real 30 minutes of screen time.
It was the Neil show this episode.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, when Smee SM33 sort of embiggened himself and stretched out his arms and went into like, menacing mode, if you will,
Yeah.
that was done extremely well. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're in trouble. Run, kids, run.
Yeah, and Neil definitely saved KB, Fern, and Wim there by throwing those rocks. And then Ja jumped in and pulled
You
the.
you you let me know when you're ready, because none of the photos are really all that interesting, but we got a ton of shots for Andor season 2. Have you seen those?
How new are they?
They dropped 5 or 6 photos.
Oh wow.
7, 8, 9, 10. 10 photos.
Are they interesting?
Cassian looks dope.
All right, might as well bring them up. This is a Star Wars show.
Right? All right, here's Cassian.
I think we've seen this one. Or seen him in the cockpit of that ship.
His outfit looks awesome.
Yeah.
Is this from the trailer? Do you remember?
We do see him in that ship wearing this outfit. So, I mean, this might be a different shot, though.
And who else do we have?
Yeah, 30 minutes of a Star Wars TV show. I that's the one. That's one of the big things I think Lucasfilm needs to change. It's just not long enough. And when you have an episode like this, where there's not a lot of special effects, I know we got the Eopies walking through. We got the Onyx Cinder falling out of hyperspace, going into the planet. I mean, that's all that really jumps out to me. So this was the most plain episode I think we've gotten so far,
Yeah.
which I'm not expecting too much more of these because the simple fact that it is a super expensive show. Um, and then the next episode should be big by all accounts by Bryce Dallas Howard, and so we should jump into something wild. And I think this next episode will get the big monster, almost maybe like a monster of the week episode type thing. But they keep on moving the story along here, so there's only 3 episodes left. Is that correct? Did I do my math right? Or 4 episodes?
4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4. If there's 8, yeah, there's 4. Yeah, 4 episodes left. It's gonna end mid-January.
Yeah. The only thing I'm, kind of certain of is we have to see Captain Silvo's crew again. So they have to backtrack somewhere or be in a situation where they can be spotted or found by Silvo's crew. I just feel like we haven't seen the last of them. And so between these kids getting back home, I think we will probably run into that crew again, or somehow they will track them. Maybe they go to Kim, and Kim, they threaten her and get coordinates. There has to be a way, because you brought Steve Urkel back retirement, so there's no way you're not going to utilize Stefan Urkel to the fullest.
Stefan Urkel.
So
Gotta
I'm
bring his robot back and Star Wars him up a little bit.
very Captain EO, that robot.
Yeah, what do you make of the theory that Wim is going to be the future Captain EO? And this is all just a prequel to Captain EO in a way.
Dude,
Is Captain EO canon? Is it going to be canonized?
I mean, if they're trying to make like a spin-off series after this with Wim being Captain EO, I'm game. That would feel amazing. It feels like Wim is the character that should have some sort of bright or unexpected future after this season. Like if you were to tell me he shows some sort of connection to the Force, I believe you. And then somebody would fly in and say, "I want to train you," and then it would just go from there. I'd believe it. So we'll see what happens. The Captain EO thing's a stretch, but I welcome it. I just don't know. That's like really wishful thinking. That's more wishful thinking than me wanting the blonde kid from Revenge of the Sith to survive Order 66. Like that's less of a stretch to me than all of this leading to a Captain EO spin-off series. But not to say that I hate the idea. I think it would be fun. Would
It would
be
shock
fun.
me more if we saw the blonde kid from Revenge of the Sith somehow survive that. I don't know. To me, that's that's
We do know that a lot of Jedi did survive Order 66.
yeah, but a
Even in
bunch of
the
helpless kids, I think, got slaughtered by Anakin. They just didn't show it. They couldn't show it. There's no way they can show it.
they couldn't show it because it would have been crossing the line. Even assuming, or that's not the word, even inferring that Anakin did that is still like borderline crossing the line. I just watched Terrifier 3 the other day, and because we did an interview with the stunt guy for Art the Clown,
Mm.
and a few kids end up dead in that movie, but they never show anything remotely close to it because there's just a line you do not cross. And for
Mm.
Star Wars to even play with that line, it still feels like it's wild. But yeah, man. All that to say, Captain EO would be cool. Don't know if it's going to be a thing. but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
What do you make of this photo that I'm sharing here of Andor hanging out with what looks like some sort of,
John Travolta and Nicole Kidman.
is that what it is? Yeah.
Apparently.
So
I
this
don't know. In disguise. In
the
a
gentleman on the
unmarked.
left is called Dylan. He's played by Theo Costa Marini,
Huh.
and the girl on the right is Enza
A lot of
Relans.
Italians.
And there's also this one here.
Mm,
We're gonna get a reunion.
with Bix.
The reunion is happening.
The reunion will be televised. Yeah,
And
Andor should be pretty epic. I don't think they've showed us really anything yet. They showed us a lot of people walking and looking and that type of thing in the trailers, and they haven't shown us K2SO really. We got like one shot, Krennic, and we don't know if there's going to be Vader and Tarkin. So there's all that.
I mean, Diego Luna all but confirmed at least a reference to some major villains in this one, and I think Vader's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, they got all the suits. It's not that hard to whip up a Vader or two.
Do you bring Hayden back for that? That's what I'm curious about. It's probably not enough of a cameo to like bring Hayden back to pay him.
Right.
But we shall see.
Yeah, I'm thinking about pay. Hayden's really back in the fold for Star Wars, but is he willing to just throw the suit on and be an Andor? Maybe. I mean, man, it's tough to say. Because, I mean, you think about Hayden Christensen as his career. I mean, I don't think he's really acting in anything much else other than Star Wars.
Doesn't need to. Just do a few conventions a year. And it's all you need to do.
God, his popularity is wild. Considering the fact he's not doing any other franchises or any other movies, really. I mean, so Haley Barr says he's in tons of stuff. All right, Haley, start naming all the stuff.
Current,
yeah,
new
current stuff,
right?
Not stuff from like years and years ago. Of course, we all love the movie Jumper, which Ted brought up and when he interviewed Hayden. What else? I loved Life as a House. That's a fantastic film. It's a fantastic father-son film. Little Italy was in 2018.
That was
a lot of
years
references to Italy.
It's been a while. I show the last thing he did outside of Star Wars was 2019, which was probably filmed in early 2019, 2018. So
Yeah.
5 years been only Star Wars.
He did an action movie that like involved like motorcycle. Well, not well. Yeah, motorcycles like in the woods. I remember in the trailer. And I mean, it wasn't really marketed. It wasn't marketed as a really big film, but he did. I know he's done stuff, but I mean, like major stuff. And I do believe he's a really good actor. And I think he gets kind of that stigma from the lines and direction he was given in the prequels. But I think he actually does have some pretty good chops. And I would love to see him do other stuff.
Yeah, I'd be all for it.
Yeah. Haley says there was one with Nicolas Cage called Outcast. I've never heard of that film. But Nicolas Cage has worked with everyone. He's like the new Kevin Bacon.
I have heard of that one. I wanted to watch it. Is that the one that's a Western? I don't know if I remember that correctly or not, but there's one that Nicolas Cage was in that I was like, I need to watch this one, and it was like a Western. But Yeah, you're right. He's worked with absolutely everybody. It is not. Oh, I don't know what that is. Okay, yeah, I do remember. I've not seen this movie, but I remember looking it up because I was as shocked as you that they had worked together. It's this really bizarre, sort of like medieval looking film, but it's Nick Cage, it's Hayden. I'll probably have to check it out. It's 10 years old now. Outcast, 2014.
Wow. So yeah,
So we in agreement. We in agreement that episode 4 is a bit of a filler. Not in a mean
I hate it
way.
when people reference stuff as filler. I don't think it was filler, but I mean, it really does feel like that in a way.
I,
It's like they had to, like, I guess when they were writing out the plan for the series, they had to get it. There's a part of the story where they had to communicate to the audience that Smee was programmed a certain way, and he was the one that destroyed the coordinates on that pillar,
yep.
and that he could be controlled by Fern. So Haley's still going. She says there was also a cool, creepy one that I watched called Awake. Yes, I remember Awake, but that was a long time ago.
Is that the one with just Jay Alba? It's my girl. I don't know if
Yes,
that is.
I believe. Yeah, yeah. Haley Barr says on YouTube, "Not it was progressing and setting in that SM33 was programmed to forget at Aden."
That is the only part about this that we had talked about is learning that SM33 is the key to ever finding the planet. And so if the captain, because this would all be kind of bonkers, and again, depending on when Smee destroyed the coordinates, did he destroy the coordinates after all these planets have already been decimated? That's what it kind of feels like, right? It wasn't at the same time.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
is the captain the one that found At-Aten and decided to decimate all the other planets of
Hmm.
this old republic sort of colony? Again, that ship
Um.
had crashed landed on At-Aten a very long time ago.
Yeah. That's what it feels like with, like, what you described with all the vegetation, all the overgrowth on it.
Yeah.
But it was weird that it was like never kind of discovered by anyone. Everyone really, no one went on hikes. No one went out into nature. Really, it was all suburbs. Maybe there was like hard, fast rules.
I
Haley on
was
YouTube
wondering
says.
that too.
Haley on YouTube says also my boy Neil almost found his lady.
I was trying to figure out is Neil growing some feelings? Because the actress felt a little bit more mature for him, but
Yeah.
and he was kind of checking out the classmate, kind of look like a monkey-ish character before, so he doesn't have a type.
I don't think he was like catching feelings necessarily. He was just trying to explain himself to her and tell her that there was another way other than just war. But it was wild when she grabbed his trunk and like kind of drug him. So my kids were actually watching it with me, and they have no idea about Skeleton Crew, and they were kind of like freaking out. And they were like, "Is that an elephant?" And I was like, "Yes, that's a blue elephant, blue hair." And they just kept on watching it. My kids are in their 20s, so early 20s, so they're not really kids, but they were a little captivated by the whole thing, and I think I think Neil is a very watchable character.
Yeah.
There was a scene though when he was speaking, and I was looking for the mouth because he does have a mouth like behind his trunk, and I didn't see his mouth match the dialogue from the like corner of the mouth when it was coming out, and I was like, did they just say, nah, no one
We
cares?
we've had this conversation with a lot of folks in special effects. You save money anywhere you can. If you don't have
Yeah.
to design a moving mouth, you don't. You don't want to. If
Well, I
you have
noticed
the
it.
opportunity not to, you don't do it because everything saves some money here.
Right, right. But it is. Well, I mean, I don't think they were looking to save much money because this is the second most expensive TV show of all time. There
You did
was
it.
some footage that came out that I had never seen before of Neil's head, the animatronic head. There's actually a square cut out, and I think it's for the actor's eyes. And it's
Interesting.
like a blue like screen, so you can see through, almost like a mascot, like the coyote. How the coyote sees through the mouth.
So the actress who played was it Hannah? I think was her name.
Yeah.
She's 15. She's born in 09. So if Neil
Wow.
was catching feelings, then he's in his, he's in the
Well,
right
Neil
age
is
range
like
right there.
12.
Is he?
Yeah.
All right. Be right back.
All right. So, did anyone else out there in chat catch any like Easter eggs or anything that we didn't cover? Because I think we pretty much covered most of the stuff. We got the Athorians, the Eopies, the helmets, the supervisor's tower. There wasn't a whole lot in this episode. It was 30 minutes long, but we didn't get a whole lot. I mean, the fact that there's earthbound playground equipment, the merry-go-round, the slide. I thought that was kind of interesting. I guess those that playground equipment is universal, huh? And I didn't think I'd hear the word Eopie in this show at all. And come to think of it, we have got a few prequel trilogies things in this show. The B1 battle droid, the Eopie. I want to say maybe an alien species, alien race or two. But yeah, it seems like Skeleton Crew, they're pulling from every which spot, every which way possible to really color the show. And they've been doing a good job. And I don't want to say up until episode 4, but episode 4 was kind of bland. I don't know. Let's hear from you guys in chat. What did you think about episode 4? I mean, is it an episode you're going to rewatch? Is it just going to be like just connective to the next episode? Or are you not going to rewatch it? What was it? I expected a whole. I think that's where we kind of mess up as fans when we knew the directors were the Daniels, so we kind of expected a lot. And of course, when we get an episode like we got, it wasn't. Oh yeah, I remember. Right, Haley Barr on YouTube says they brought the holiday special cameo in one more time. Yes, really quick. When John was looking through all the belongings and he like shined that flashlight or whatever that had the projection.
Yeah.
That was back. Anna on Facebook says, I'm coming in late. I feel like we finally saw that KB really isn't as perfect and we put together as we think, and it hides our deep down insecurities. And I feel like they finally showed that. Interesting.
I wonder if she means Fern. Because Fern was the one that was sort of.
Yeah, KB has the visor.
Yeah, Fern was sort of having almost like a panic attack. Or not really a panic attack, but
Yeah.
anxiety. Suffering from a lot of anxiety towards the end of the episode.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that. She's such a. Anna says yes, Fern.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fern is such a tough, street smart character. And she kind of broke down.
I think if we come back to resolve this conflict, which again, That's a stretch, but we got 4 episodes left. So then this episode will matter more if like Neil or somebody kind of puts that awareness out there and brings more attention to this conflict that's taking place, which is unnecessary. It's like, come on, you guys live on a planet that is just in rubble, and right next door somewhere is like the wealthiest planet in the galaxy.
Right.
Just knock it off now. So
So you think
if
they are close by at Atten
I think they have to be. I think this entire sector is
is full of the At planets?
it's something like that. Yeah, I think this what do you call it? This group of planets is not like you can't see it, but they're in a sector of the galaxy that has not been explored very much, clearly. And if later on we come back to this planet to sort of help with this conflict, then this episode will definitely mean a lot more. If we never see these factions again, then I will stand by my thought is that it's a little bit of a filler. The only thing I feel like it really pushes the story forward is learning that SM-33 um, was programmed or ordered to not remember where At-Atten is, which is fine. I'm not gonna say it's a waste of an episode, not a waste, just not as integral as the other episodes have been so far.
Well, Spicy Flag on YouTube says, I don't think this is going to be a rewatchable one for me. I felt like moving pieces around and giving some backstory, but not much more. Yeah, I mean, it added to the story. Just visually, it wasn't as interesting as the other episodes, which is surprising that the Daniels directed this one. They'll keep on
Maybe
saying that, but
you got to get your foot in the door.
and yeah, they weren't proven at this time. But
That's true. That is true. Well, I actually have to prepare for an interview. It's not Star Wars related, but the movie Y2K came out a few weeks ago, and we're interviewing two of the puppeteers who worked in the robot suits. If you have not seen Y2K and you are a millennial or you were in high school around um, Y2K, I highly recommend you check out the film. It's hilarious. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Um, Fred Durst is in it. I mean, it's fun, it's entertaining, and it's also like a horror sort of parody. Yeah, a little bit of a parody, not full blown parody, but it's a lot of fun. So highly recommend it.
yeah, Y2K was so a thing back in 1999, and I thought I wasn't going to see episode 2 because Y2K was going to inflict its wrath and destroy all technology, and I wasn't going to finish the prequels off. But all right, Ted, thanks for joining tonight, and hopefully we'll see you in the future here.
Absolutely. That, folks. See you next time.
So Haley on YouTube says extra unnecessary parkour moves. I know what you're talking about. As soon as I saw that, when the new character, when she did like a somersault or something, yeah, it was kind of odd. I don't know why they left that in, but I don't know. I don't make those choices. But yeah, maybe we should have Haley on in the future. Maybe she should guess. She's been contributing a lot of comments here. So yeah, just let everyone know. We know Haley. The podcast knows Haley. We met her at SpaceCon. We might go to MegaCon in Orlando in February and might see her there and hang out with Legion Sabers at their booth. So if anyone's going to MegaCon in Orlando in February, we might be there. And yeah, Haley likes that notion. So yeah, we might have a lot of fun, relive some of the fun we had at SpaceCon back in October, which is a lot of fun. We talked about that a lot. We met a lot of listeners. Then saw a lot of celebrities there, but and it will be good to reunite with some of the. Well, everyone kind of lives far away from each other now on the Star Wars Stuff podcast. So hopefully we do that and we chronicle the whole thing and share some behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this episode of the post show. I want to thank everyone in chat. Haley, of course, Tim, TJ, Adam, Spicy, the Legacy of Nerd, and of course Ted, who joined me. Anna on Facebook. I'm kind of curious what the world thinks of this episode. It's I don't know. It's a little bit of a head scratcher almost, but I mean they had to progress the story, so hopefully this is kind of the last episode that isn't as interesting, I guess. And I've said it the whole podcast that they'd say episode 5, something big is going to happen, something possibly. I'm not sure about revolutionary, but for this show, I think it's going to be one of the bigger episodes. So you can't get to 5 without getting through 4, and I think we all did that tonight. And yeah, 30 minutes long, super short, but that's how they like to do them. So if you want to, if you're new to the podcast, if you want to find us on social media, you can go to Instagram and find us at SW Stuff Podcast. We're on Twitter at Stuff Pod, Threads at Star Stuff Podcast. We have a Patreon that you can join at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. We're also on TikTok. You can email us, Star Wars Stuff Podcast at gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, of course. We have a group and a page. Colin sometimes goes on Twitch for Star Wars Stuff Gaming. You can go out to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or write us a review. Give us 5 stars. We appreciate that. And also, we're going to have a revamped website here pretty soon, StarWarsStuffPodcast.com. So check us out at all those fine places. And thank you so much for listening, watching. My name is David, and may the Force be with you. Always.